Washington Post national political reporter Azi Paybarah. Azi, we kept mentioning that Vice President Harris is now leading in national polls, but this election will most likely come down to a few battleground states, including Pennsylvania, where she and President Biden are today. So what do you think? Should we be focusing more on the polling in these states?
Well, the polling in the swing states really is what's important. If it was just a straight popular vote, we sort of know how this election would go. Donald Trump has not won a popular vote in the elections where he's been at the top of the ballot. But if you look at battleground states, where electoral votes are decided, it looks like Harris has a lead in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and even in Michigan. Those are really important states for her. Trump, according to these polls, has somewhat of a lead in North Carolina and Georgia, places that he really wants to win. Now, what the electoral votes are what is going to decide this election. Donald Trump has had a challenge winning popular votes, so therefore his campaign has always been targeted to specifying particular areas, particular counties in crucial states and focusing their efforts on there.
Got it. And so let's move on to just subjects now, not just battleground states, but 10 states now have abortion rights amendments on the ballot. 2 of them battleground states, Arizona and Nevada. So how do you see abortion, Azi, at this point impacting this race so close to Election Day, if at all?
Supporters of abortion rights have succeeded every time the issue has been on the ballot for voters to decide. Now, the reason why this issue is even in the hands of states to decide is because Trump appointed Supreme Court justices, took away that constitutional right back in 2022. That was a political liability for Republicans and particularly for Donald Trump. He has been trying to find a way to claim ownership of this issue without the liability, and he has struggled with that. We just saw last week where one day he told another network that he was going to vote in a way that signaled his opposition to a 6-week abortion ban in Florida, and the very next day he said the opposite, saying that he was going to vote in favor of that law. This is a political liability for Republicans and specifically for Donald Trump. Democrats have tried to make this a focal point of this entire election, and voters, even in red states, even in states where Democrats are not expected to win, have come out and voted consistently in support of abortion rights. This is a liability from the top of the ticket, down ballot, in blue states and in red states.
I'm just curious, this close to Election Day. Look, you're the national political reporter for the Washington Post. We all read the Post. We're all out there together on the campaign trail talking about the same things. But I'm just curious, as you've been covering, this election, as we know, it's unprecedented what we're dealing with right now. What do you find interesting at this point? I mean, what's the one story you're looking forward to writing?
I think one of the things that is most striking is how just a few weeks ago and a few months ago, the conversation was about, is Joe Biden capable, physically and mentally, of performing the job of the president? And for campaigning for that job and potentially holding it for 4 years. After he withdraws and is replaced by Kamala Harris, the same questions have not been applied, I think, to the same degree to Donald Trump. We just saw him at a Moms for Liberty event where he went on long-winded tangents that were not entirely coherent, far from factual. And yet a lot of the response to it from his supporters was to just agree and not really bat an eye about it. The issues that were coming out of Arlington Cemetery, where he filmed things that would be used for campaign-related purposes, and the accusations that his campaign pushed aside an Army service member at that cemetery. The lack of outrage, I think, is sort of surprising about that, especially when the campaign has spent over a week saying that they have video evidence to back up their claims about what happened and yet have not released it. So I think the questions about Donald Trump's ability to perform the job for the 4 years based on the statements and the way he's conducted himself throughout the campaign. It was a critical point for Joe Biden, who had a very difficult debate performance back in June. Since Biden has no longer been on the ticket, that question has gone away, even though we have one of the oldest candidates running for president still on the ballot.
Yeah, and it's interesting just to see how tight the race is just 63 days out. It's pretty remarkable to watch. We're a part of history for sure, Azi. Azi Paybarah, thank you so much. Appreciate you.